100 days, my administration has been delivering every single day for the great citizens of our country. Whether it's putting our coal miners back to work, protecting America's steel and aluminum workers, we love that steel and aluminum, or eliminating job-killing regulations, we are keeping one promise after another.
Your grade, however, much less enthusiastic. Let's take a look. Several barometers of the president. One, his approval rating. This president, historically unpopular, all the way back to Dwight Eisenhower in the 1950s. Donald Trump, a 44% approval rating at the 100-day mark. Bill Clinton was the previous low in 1993 at 55%. You see the numbers as you go across. Historically unlow rankings for this president, despite his saying he's kept all his promises. Now, the president has liked to make the case that he's a man of action. He scorned President Obama for executive actions, but President Trump has been working hard at using his pen as president. 32 executive orders, including one yesterday, second to Harry Truman, but well ahead of his more recent predecessors. Some of these could bring big change down the road if regulations are rolled back, if they keep their promises. Some of them, though, more or less glorified press releases to ask for studies on campaign promises. The president, he's right when he says he signed more bills than his previous predecessors, but most of these Republican congressional actions to roll back things done late in the Obama administration, not one of these 29 originated in the Trump White House. There are, of course, many ways to judge a president. Is Washington disrupted? Very much a yes. Is he as promised unpredictable? Very, very much a yes. Is the Trump base still loyal? Overwhelmingly yes. And that's important. But has he enacted or made big progress on any signature campaign promises? Mostly no. Obamacare has not been repealed. The travel ban is on hold. China has not been labeled a currency manipulator. The border wall, not funded, let alone built. Planned Parenthood, not defunded. The Common Core education standards, still the law of the land. The list of unfinished, untouched, and in some cases abandoned promises is a long one. And the president's 100-day interviews included a very candid reflection on one lesson learned.
This is more work than in my previous life. I thought it would be easier. I thought it was more of I'm a details-oriented person, I think you would say that. But I do miss my old life. I like to work, so that's not a problem. But this is actually more work.
With us to share their reporting and their insights this Sunday, Julie Pace of the Associated Press, CNN's Manu Raju, Karen Tumulty of the Washington Post, and CNN's Mae Breaston. Welcome to day 101. When you listen to the president, they're saying it's a lot more work than I thought. And if you listen to the president last night, defiant, bashing the media, saying that we have it all wrong, that he's keeping his promises, that he's off to a fantastic start, the most fantastic start ever, if you listen to the president. Where are we on day 101? And as we've talked throughout the hour, what lessons have we learned as we look ahead to the second 100 days?
I think what's been so interesting to listen to President Trump over this last week or so is that he vacillates between this supreme confidence, outward confidence in his own abilities, truly believes that in some ways he is fulfilling campaign promises and enacting a robust agenda, and then this naive realization about how difficult this all is going to be. You could almost feel Hillary Clinton like banging against the walls, like, yes, I told you that this was going to be hard. So in some ways, you're watching him learn on the job. He's candid about the lessons that he's learned from foreign leaders, from people in his own cabinet. Yet he does retain this confidence in his own ability and wants people to believe that even some of these smaller pieces of legislation that he signed, some of these executive orders that maybe just order a study or two, are signs of real progress.
Well, also 100 days either. He did get a couple of signature achievements through, but read the Gettysburg Address. Read all the things the president said he would do. Not talk about, but do in the first 100 days, and he hasn't met that test. That's okay. Welcome to Washington. He says everything's going fine, but you can hear his own frustration last night in Harrisburg. Everyone thought the Republicans, after 6-7 years of saying we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare, could do that in the first 100 days of a Republican presidency. President Trump's pretty frustrated.
We'll repeal and replace Obamacare. You watch. And I'll be so angry at Congressman Kelly and Congressman Marino and all of our congressmen in this room if we don't get that damn thing passed quickly.
And over again, that there's a system here and you cannot change that system overnight. The fact that not only after their second run up to trying to get this bill on the floor this week failed, they were struggling to just keep the government's lights on. The hallmark of congressional dysfunction is a threat of a government shutdown, and we were there in the first 100 days as well.
And he throughout the campaign laughed at the politicians for that, saying you just need a businessman, you need a negotiator, it will be easy. He said repeatedly.
The problem is also he doesn't necessarily believe in the details on some of these key proposals like healthcare, whereas a lot of these members of Congress are very ideological. They believe deeply in some of the core principles of the healthcare bill, and that's one reason why there was a massive revolt within the ranks. Donald Trump just wants something passed. He doesn't necessarily care about the nitty-gritty of the legislative process.
Grown. If you look at the data, if you talk to voters, he has not grown his base, but he has held his base. He's held his base in part because of some of the things he did do in the first 100 days. And give the president his due, he had Neil Gorsuch confirmed as a Supreme Court justice. The conservative base likes that very much. They have ramped up immigration enforcement around the country, and again, the Trump base likes that very much. He greenlit the two pipelines, the Keystone and Dakota Access pipelines. He promised to do that in the campaign. He withdrew from the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That was sort of already done. In the Obama administration, Congress made clear they weren't going to go along, but the president did do that. And he got some credit, even from a lot of Democrats, for striking the airfield in Syria. The question is, can he keep that base? You heard in the past week Rush Limbaugh saying he caved. The president came into this last week of the 100 days saying, vote again on Obamacare repeal. They refused. They didn't have the votes. Give me $1 billion or $1 trillion for my wall as a down payment. Congress said no, and the president blamed the Democrats, but a lot of Republicans didn't want to give him that money. When he spoke to the NRA on Friday, again, just like you just heard him on health care, the president trying to reassure his own base, okay, didn't get it fast, but we'll get it.
We'll build the wall. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. That's an easy one. We're going to build the wall. We need the wall. I said to General Kelly, how important is it? He said, very important. It's that final element. That in the next election, you could be swamped with candidates, but you're not going to be wasting your time. You'll have plenty of those Democrats coming over, and you're going to say, no, sir, no, thank you. No, ma'am, perhaps, ma'am. It may be Pocahontas. Remember that.
Now, some consider that Friday attack on Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts to be racist. It is, without a doubt, more middle school than presidential. It's also a trademark of our 45th president. Roll a rhetorical grenade or launch a tweet storm when he wants to change or steer the political chatter. Just one of the many 100-day markers of a president who does things his way. One way, unlike any other president, the use of Twitter to communicate. See the red lines? Only two of the first 100 days in office did the president refrain from tweeting from his @RealDonaldTrump Twitter account. Some of the highlights here as we go through them. Let's take a look. On day 8, a doozy. Look forward to seeing final results of VoteStand. This is where the president was supporting those who say 3 million people or more voted illegally in the last election. Didn't happen. Never happened. The President of the United States spinning a fantasy there with his Twitter account. Let's move over another day. The failing at New York Times. He's been at that quite a bit. A lot of media bashing. Again, only twice in his first 100 days did he not tweet. That's significant.
I said that last night.
How did he travel in the first 100 days? Well, you see all the blue. The blue is Mar-a-Lago, his Palm Beach resort in Florida. The gold, other Trump properties he visited. One interesting thing about this president of the United States, not only did he not leave the country in his first 100 days, never went west of the Mississippi in his first 100 days. One thing he did do a lot, remember Donald Trump, back when he was a candidate, mocked the last president, Barack Obama, for his time on the golf course. You see all those golf balls? That's the president, golfing. He mocked the last president. Now, when we hold him accountable for this, he says, we're not being fair.
They'll say, oh, he's going to play golf. I'm not going to play golf. I couldn't care less about golf. But I have a place there. That costs almost nothing. But the problem is every time I go to a club, they say, he's out there having fun. I'm not having fun. When I go to a club, I'm working. They hit me for...
Does care about his reviews. He is a reality TV star who, as President of the United States, continues to care about what the critics think and the ratings think of his reviews. He's tweeting right now that Obamacare is dead. And that the Democrats are trying to prop it up by demanding payments to insurance companies. Because I assume he's reading the newspapers and watching the morning shows, and he's being held to account for failing to repeal Obamacare in his first 100 days. When we hold him to account for promises he made, he says things like this last night.
If the media's job is to be honest and tell the truth, then I think we would all agree the media deserves a very, very big, fat, failing grave. Very dishonest people, and not all of them. You know, we call it the fake news. Not all of them.
I don't know. I get the political strategy behind this. 1,000% I get it. But I don't know how it's fake news to say the Republicans and the president did not repeal or replace Obamacare the first 100 days. The president did not, as promised, label China a currency manipulator on day one. He hasn't reversed the Cuba policy. He hasn't ripped up the Iran deal. He hasn't moved the embassy to Jerusalem. That's not fake news. That's fact.
No, that's fact. And you know, I think that this is a president who was so obsessed with controlling his image before he got into the White House. And honestly, it was a lot easier back then, you know, when he's dealing with, you know, Page Six and the business press. And he doesn't like the way that he's being portrayed now and doesn't think that, you know, that we're giving the proper attention to the things that he's done so far. But this is also a president who has no hobbies besides golf. He like obsessively watches television, added many more television sets to the White House so that he could watch more channels at once. So, you know, there's an irony there to giving the media a failing grade and then spending as much time as he does watching. When you think about it, it's
Another thing that Karen, you mentioned, this candidate Trump had a casual relationship with the truth at times. President Trump as well.
We got 306. Guess it was the biggest electoral college win since Ronald Reagan. The murder rate in our country is the highest it's been in 47 years, right? Did you know that? 47 years. We've created over 600,000 jobs already in a very short period of time. And there's a website that works. This is not the $5 billion Obamacare website. Do we remember that? Nobody remembers it.
All of that, and there could have been more run afoul of the fact checkers. As we talk about the sometimes veering from fact and truth by the president, we should also note that from day one, when the big fight about the crowd side of the inaugural came up, he's had some help from his staff.
No one had numbers because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe.
You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that. But the point really is that there's...
Yeah, alternative facts. You were having a little flashback there, I'm sorry.
Good memories. They get themselves in a lot of problems because the president puts something out that is factually inaccurate, and then it's up to his team to go out and often defend it. That's the message from the boss, not to clean it up, not to try to spin it, but to actually defend it. That wasn't established.
Are they getting better? Well, you mentioned the wiretapping tweet. That was on day 44. Are they getting any better, again, as we look forward? Have they...
Better at lying or what?
None of them served in government. Are we getting better?
how can you get better at that? I mean,
Do less of it is what I mean, I think.
how can you get better at that? I mean,
Do less of it is what I mean, I think.
I mean, it's a constant churn. There's no way to notice
And it muddies the message, and it affects their agenda. So it does have a real impact because message discipline is very important for White House, and this is White House has no message discipline.
It's a very important point. Everybody sit tied up next. A look back at one of the president's biggest victories.
I've always heard that the most important thing that a president of the United States does is appoint people. And I got it done in the first 100 days. That's even nice. You think that's easy?
Got it handed to you.